And we're live here at the Blue Moose Studios.
Man, oh man, oh man.
Chilling like villains.
Yeah.
Talking about the 3 Ps, which are, do you remember?
Person, place, and thing.
I mean, you're kind of close. Products, practices, and perspectives.
Okay.
Now, why are we going to talk about the 3 Ps? You know, these people are like, that's such a weird thing to talk about, right?
Yes.
One big word, the big C word, Jared, and not the C word you're thinking of, but the C word of culture. So the 3 Ps are, it's like a type of framework to kind of analyze and kind of dig a little bit deeper when we talk about cultures. And here at the Untranslatable Podcast, I think that's a big part of our podcast, so it'll be fun.
Is this another one of your fancy book learning things?
It is, yeah.
What class did you learn about this in?
Good question. I mean, it was in grad school when I was finishing my master's in German studies. Also, are you hot enough on your mic?
I feel. Does it seem too low to you?
Seems. I don't know. Am I just coming in a lot hotter?
I think you're just talking more than me.
Maybe. Per usual.
I think, see, as I keep talking, it fills out. I think you're just talking more than me.
All right, we'll have to change that a little bit.
No, it's fine. I'm listening.
But yeah, I know you are. I'm not saying you weren't. I'm just teasing you. But yeah, it was in a German class in grad school. I think it was probably my... it might have actually been my language and technology course. I think it was like called LLT 841, if I remember correctly.
Oh, that's a fancy name.
Yeah.
That sounds like a computer.
Language Learning and Teaching, LLT.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so we talked about it because we read some articles about how you can teach German culture in the United States. You know, especially for me as an American. You know, I perceive German culture through my kind of American glasses, if you will, right? My American perspective.
So you're tainted, no matter what.
I mean, we all are, Jared. Let's be honest, we all are.
We've actually had this conversation relatively recently, talking about can you teach someone else's culture? Mm-hmm. Kinda, not really. I mean, right. It wasn't that deep. I was just asking if you were like a good conduit, if for like German culture, if that was someone's only experience,
right. Well, I think the thing about teaching culture is you have to teach about how to talk about it, right? So that's actually kind of why we're doing today's episode, not to get incredibly meta here, but the point is if you can't analyze a culture, how can you talk about it? Right? And the 3 Ps are nice because it's 3 very concrete things, right? When our listeners hear products, practices, and perspectives, I guarantee you they might not fully understand the depth of what all those terms mean, but I guarantee you they have a slight idea, right? I mean, a product is just something that's made in a culture, right?
Yeah. Like a rug, like a like a fancy rug.
Persian rug.
Yeah.
Or American cars, get that
there you go.
Muscle car.
V8s.
That's right. All sorts of stuff. And so, but products can go deeper than that. It's also music, films, movies, all that stuff is a product of a culture. Clothing that you wear. We've talked about the kind of
Chinese drip.
Yeah, the Chinese drip. I got my Chinese drip on today. Although I talked to a friend of mine. And she was telling me that a lot of clothes, and I don't know if this is true, but what she was saying, she's Korean, and she was saying a lot of Chinese style is really influenced by Japanese and Korean style. Now, the reason why I say that is on this shirt. No, they would not.
Oh,
but at least that's what she said. She's Korean, and when we were in China, that's what she was saying.
I'm not saying I don't believe her. I'd be shocked to hear that from a Chinese person.
Right. But the funny thing is, on the back of my shirt, there are Korean characters. Why would there be Korean characters? Why wouldn't they put Chinese characters?
Interesting. So, yeah.
Just some food for thought. It's interesting.
Wow.
But see, that's the beauty of kind of talking about some of this stuff is you can kind of pull back the blanket and really see what's underneath a little.
Right. The Korean
more.
Characters are almost as random as the English ones. It's
Correct.
Like why they put English. Well,
right.
Yes. It's like, yeah.
And yeah, it's all a facet of culture, right? So we have our products, your practices. You can also look at it as like the what, the how, and the why. So the products are the what, right? The things we make. Mm-hmm. The practices are the how. How do we do it, right? So how do we conduct business, right? Do we shake hands? Greetings are like a type of practice. And then perspectives is the why. Why do we shake hands? Why don't we bow? Why don't we salute? why don't we kiss each other on the cheek? There's lots of, but these are all cultural perspectives we have, right? And Americans, we're very fond of personal space, for example, right?
Yeah, our bubble.
Our bubble, right? But a lot of cultures, they don't necessarily have that luxury. Like if you live in a really crowded city, there were plenty of times when I took the subway in Beijing, and you're packed in like a sardine,
In Beijing, do they do like they do in Tokyo, where they smash you in there? Why is that so funny?
I never saw that. It's funny because it is funny. I mean, have you ever seen a video of them doing that? I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's true.
It's ridiculous. It's too bad that it's gotten to that point. But it's
why is it so bad?
I mean,
is it just so bad that congestion has reached this level that we have to live like this?
That's our resort.
It's kind of gross, I guess, if you look at it that way. It's like,
right.
why? Yeah, there's got to be a better way.
Exactly.
Although I will say it is better than obviously them using cars.
I mean, environmentally for sure.
Yeah, but but you mean not like for one's
if you're into personal
like
space,
self-esteem.
Well, no,
not self-esteem.
No.
But I don't mean self-esteem, but like for one's like
I think it just changes your cultural. I think it's a more like we've talked about the U.S. and a lot of Western countries are a bit more are more individualistic, and a lot of other cultures.
Although I bet you can get some space on a Tokyo subway today.
Nowadays, yeah, sure. I mean, I've seen pictures my friends have posted in Beijing and Shanghai on public transit.
Oh, really?
And it's a lot emptier still.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Sure. Of course it is.
So.
Of course it is.
Yep. But yeah, so that's what we'll be talking about today. The 3 Ps.
Hey, didn't you say you have a gift for me?
I do. Thanks for reminding me. Yeah, I do.
I remember it was sitting right there.
Yeah, so I have 2 little things. So for our listeners out there who aren't on our Instagram, check it out, Untranslatable Podcast. And I had posted maybe a week ago, I think. I have finally gotten all my stuff back from China.
Yes.
6 months later after leaving.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I had forgotten about all the cool stuff I had at my apartment. And even though they packed it for me and I saw them pack it, out of sight, out of mind, I forgot about a lot of stuff.
Of course.
So if you have checked out our Instagram, you will have probably seen that we did an On the Road Again in Mongolia. And Mongolia was by far one of my favorite places to visit during my time while I was in China.
I can imagine.
It was amazing. And I really hope to go back one day. I really do. So one of the gifts, though, we did some presentations at 2 different universities in Mongolia. My presentations were on games in the English language classroom and also using music in the language classroom, which are 2 things I enjoy a lot, games and music. So anyways, as a parting gift, one of the universities, and you'll see on the back of these here which one, decided to give everyone who participated a little kind of goodie bag as a thank you, right? And so, obviously as teachers, you don't do these professional development events for, it's not like I was getting money for it, right? But these little things are nice, the little swag. So I got 2, I have like a booklet of them, and I thought these 2 would be ones you would like.
Oh, wow. I like this one a lot. This one on the right.
So I thought, that might be cool for either your office or for something.
Yeah, thank you.
But if you flip it over, first of all, you can see the traditional thank you. Yeah. If you flip it over, you can see the traditional Mongolian writing on the back. And the cool thing about the traditional Mongolian writing system is it actually is
up and down.
It's up and down. Yeah, which is really interesting. Like it blows my mind that it's just interesting how different cultures conceptualize writing systems. Some go left to right, some go right to left, top to bottom. It's really interesting. It really is. So, anyways, I wanted to give those to you as a thank you for being such an amazing co-host here at the Untranslatable Podcast.
These are awesome.
And I thought those were kind of cool. So
I would give you a hug, but that would be socially irresponsible.
So here we can namaste it.
Yeah,
it's all good.
Namaste.
It's all good.
Do one of these numbers,
right?
maybe.
I see that a lot of the forearm bump, but you're getting close to the hands. I don't know.
Yeah, see, people are getting a little too comfortable there. I don't know about that. These, right. I think I might put one on the fridge, and I might hang one up in my office.
And I hope one day we could do an in-person podcast in Mongolia.
That would be awesome.
That would be amazing.
That happen? I mean, I know how it happens.
I mean, we travel to Mongolia is how that happens. Like do an Asia trip.
That would be cool.
Do it in a gur, one of those traditional houses they have, which are really cool over there.
Oh, that's what they call it?
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of what do we call it? I call them a gur because that's a Mongolian word, but the Russian
yurt?
word, yurt. Thank you, but that's the Russian
isn't that
word.
Offensive? Didn't you tell me that's offensive?
It's not offensive, but it's like
That's not what they call it.
It's not what they call it. Yeah,
Okay.
like a yurt is what like we would call it, and I believe yurt comes from Russian, if I remember correctly.
Right. I actually first learned about yurts because someone wanted to put one up when they went to Burning Man. So that shows you what I know about yurts.
There you go. Right.
I'm definitely no yurt expert or gur expert. Gur sounds better too anyway.
Yeah.
I'm going with that. Next time someone says yurt, I'll be like, oh, do you mean a gur? I've never.
Oh, yeah. Excuse me, sir. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so I think if I remember correctly, I should have a shout out or two.
I have one, actually.
Awesome. Get us started.
Yeah.
Spread a little love.
So it's been a wild ride here in the United States for the past couple of days. That's to put it lightly. We've seen murders. We've seen people get shot for no reason by the police. We've seen people get shot for no reason by wannabe police, and we've seen it go. We've seen it go. Unjustly go by for many years, and so it's nice to see some of these people that are stepping up, and some of these like famous people and celebrities and big groups that are stepping up and saying something. I assume you saw all the sports teams that protested. Mm-hmm. Did we talk about that?
No, but we should.
The NBA, the NHL.
Yeah.
The MLB.
Well, okay, stop. So first, the National Basketball League, NBA, for those of you who don't know.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
NFL, National Football League.
No, not National Football
Or,
League.
sorry, NHL, National Hockey League.
Yeah.
Right, National Hockey League, and MLB, Major League Baseball.
Yeah, so they had all elected to... I don't know what
they boycotted or
I know that some of the basketball players were saying that they were going to go the full... like rest of the season without playing, but I don't think that's happening anymore.
Yeah, I'm not sure yet either, but I know that was.
But what I do know
table.
that I found was, I mean, I like to see the protesting because I like to see it hit people where it matters the most. And sports in general are obviously always super famous, but they're even more like at the center of the attention now when it's one of our very few forms of
entertainment
other than shitty Netflix reality shows that people seem to love. By the way.
I haven't watched Netflix. I was talking to my parents about this. I haven't watched Netflix in like at least a month.
Yeah, dude. At this point, I just have Netflix I just pay for Netflix for my other people, for my partner. My parents use it.
Right.
I have watched bits of Love on the Spectrum. I have watched bits of some sort of Indian dating show. There's just a whole. They find every sort of niche of cultures and just exploit it with a reality show. I mean, they seem entertaining, but they're not for me. Anyway,
Tiger King was the good old days.
Yeah. Oh, remember
Carol
that?
Baskin.
when all we were dealing with was a little pandemic.
And Tiger King. Yeah, no kidding.
So the NBA. So what I do know though is the NBA, the Players Association, agreed to turn arenas into polling places.
Yeah, which I thought was a genius idea.
Yes, the league will convert franchise-owned and operated arenas into voting locations as part of an agreement with the National Basketball Players Association. The NBA will work with local election officials. Oh, that's right. Okay, November's presidential election, and the players. They announced.
I also heard that the players will. Or not the players, but they will also employ the staff who usually work at these places
That's what
to
I
do.
was looking for.
Yeah, which I think is great. Yeah,
and I think this is great. This is a great actionable protest for something that's like voter suppression is not only always
it's
a big
huge problem,
but we're actively seeing like sort of a fight for it in front of our faces with the post office.
Right.
And as someone that doesn't really enjoy going places, I never fully understood why the concept of voting in person would be such a problem.
Right.
Like if people just are wearing masks, like how is that like you don't have to be close to people really.
Right.
But now that we actually have places where you can go inside somewhere relatively like safely, you don't have to be like standing halfway down the block in your city or whatever. I think that's a brilliant, and it's a great. I love this because it's not just a protest, even though it is, but it's like then we're like actionable things are happening where they're like putting their money where their mouth is essentially.
Exactly, and for all the people out there, and it was a lot of people on Facebook I unfollowed this last week. For all of those of you who
Hopefully they listen to this.
Probably not, but probably not. But I'm going to look right in the camera and say this. So for those of you who say that these athletes should just shut up and play their sport, first of all, they're trying to use their platform for something good. Imagine if you were a part of a group where you faced serious voter suppression, you can't get your voice out, you can't be heard. And instead of, killing people or doing anything, these players are really trying to work for something that I think is very admirable. I don't care what side of the spectrum you are, liberal, conservative, independent. Everyone should agree, in the United States at least, if you're an American, you should be able to go vote.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
But I think it's pretty agreed upon that in a lot of recent history, the only way that the Republican Party has done as well as they have is
voter suppression.
Voter suppression. Yeah. And some
gerrymandering too.
Yeah, which is a form of voter suppression.
Right.
Which is in some pretty blatant ways too. So.
Yeah, our system is very flawed, and people are trying to fix it, and the ones in power don't enjoy that.
You can't just fix it. It's like an ongoing sort of fight,
Exactly. But they are fighting the good fight, I would say.
Yeah, and I love to see this. To see this. And the WNBA, by the way, I think they're actually one of the earliest teams to make some sort of big statement like this. Yeah, excuse me, earliest leagues to make like a big statement like this. And then they had those shirts.
I saw that
where they had like the bullet holes.
Said Jacob Blake on the back, right?
And they had some sort of Black Lives Matter related saying on the front, making powerful statements. I like to see it. That's my shout out.
Yeah, it's great. My shout out, I have one as well. Not nearly as epic as yours, Jared, but I think still a good one.
It's not a competition.
That's true. We did talk about last episode, not comparing people when you're trying to push out of your comfort zones. We try that with our podcast too. We forgot to mention that, I would say.
Try harder next time, Chad, and maybe you can find a good
That's right.
shout out like I did.
That's right. Well, trust me, some of my sources now, it's the same stuff. A lot of it's the same stuff.
I mean, it's hard. It's hard now. The news... They have their lanes.
And I'm so sad that this is on the screen because this isn't even related to the article I'm reading.
What that was.
Anyways, so this is coming from Chicago. Books for Cause. So a father-daughter duo has opened up a library in Chicago with 1,000 free books, and they have plans to open other free libraries in the south and west sides of Chicago. And Books for Cause is also going to help people help fill empty storefronts that have been hit hard by the pandemic, which I think is fantastic. This is an awesome idea. Mayana, I believe it's Mayana Lifshitz, L-I-F, anyways. And her father, Yosef, started Books for Cause in 2009 after seeing textbooks thrown away after 1 year of use. Since then, hundreds of thousands of books have been donated to their cause, which now fills 110 libraries in Africa. So they started this first in Africa, which is awesome. But then when the coronavirus pandemic hit the U.S., they knew the need would grow here too. The father of five opened a free library in Avondale on North Milwaukee Ave with 1,000 books inside. Every book is completely free. Now, I don't know how this works, if you bring the book back or if it's yours to keep. I have no idea. But either way, I think this is awesome.
There's a lot of donations happening.
Right. Well, I mean, I have tons of books that honestly I could probably donate.
Yeah, and I'm not really a big rereader of things.
Right.
But I do like having a full bookshelf, There is something to having that full bookshelf.
That's an ego thing though, man. My bookshelves are honestly too full.
These things behind me? That's what we need behind us. I was telling you, it's bare back here. We need a bookshelf.
That's true.
Or at least maybe I can
we just have to record it in my room, and trust me, there'd be plenty of
we could do that. Yeah, that's true.
But
that's true.
This setup isn't there. I guess that's only the difference. If this was like a Zoom call, we could just have that background good to go. But then it looks wonky when you move around.
It's not the same.
Yeah, it really isn't. But anyways, I think this is an amazing cause.
No fake bookshelves. Sorry.
Right. They got to be real. That's right.
That's even more pathetic if it's a fake bookshelf.
Right. That's true. Have a fake, rented Ferrari. And then your fake books. You're good to go.
I fooled my partner. Like the AR things were like the augmented reality where you can with your camera play stuff and you get that Lamborghini said you could do it with a Huracan Evo. So I put one in my neighbor's driveway and I just texted it to her. I was like, "Neighbor's got a new car."
That's
and she
hilarious.
Went out. She's like, "Is that?" I was like, "It wasn't." But the thing, it wasn't great. Okay. But oh man, I got that was the greatest laugh I've had in a long time.
That's a funny one. That's a good one. Well, Jared, should we do what we do best here? At the
Yeah, let's get
Untranslatable
into 'em,
podcast. All right. So, for those of you who don't know, that is. Oop, I'm using the wrong mouse here, Jared. For those of you who don't know, that is the sound of the untranslatable owl, which is to begin our untranslatable segment, which is idioms, proverbs, axioms, words that don't fit easily into English on a one-to-one basis. And Jared is going to get us started today.
I am. You know, what's...
Go ahead. I'm going to delete this.
Okay. What are you deleting?
That's from our last episode. We recorded 2 chunks.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I mean,
this is why
you
I
can
wanted you to
imagine
start.
how it's
I
a
could've
little
just-
disturbing.
I thought it was pretty straightforward. But anyways, go ahead.
Okay. Sorry. That was... I only have one untranslatable.
I got a couple, so we're good.
But I'll give it to you.
Mm-hmm.
It is Greek, and it is tafas gilo. You're going to eat wood. And
That's-
no, I'm not flirting with you.
Okay. Well, you didn't say it in a very flirty way, so I didn't think you were.
I'm a
You're
tough
gonna eat
guy
wood.
flirt.
I mean, is that like you're gonna get a knuckle sandwich? Like you be
Yeah.
be ready
oh,
for
wow,
the
I didn't think that was
consequences.
so obvious. Very good.
It's very obvious. Hey, you're gonna eat wood. I'm gonna smack you with something.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
When I think eat wood, I think like someone biting down on wood immediately. So I thought
Okay.
it maybe like you're making a mistake or I don't know. I guess you'd still be making a mistake.
Either way, yeah,
You're having-
that's
if you're having
that's
this
true.
conversation
That
with
is
someone.
true.
All right, hit me up.
All right,
dude.
my first one is I don't know if you would call this Jamaican slang or patois because I thought patois. Anyways, it is small up yourself.
Smell up yourself.
Small up yourself.
Small up yourself. Is it
Mm-hmm.
just like give yourself props? It's like don't be hard on yourself.
No, not at all.
Small up yourself.
You know, we
cool.
briefly touched on this earlier when we were talking about personal space.
Small up yourself. Get away from me.
Not quite.
Small up yourself.
Yeah. What I mean, how would you translate that into English, like American English?
Small up yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's like make yourself small.
Yeah. Scoot over,
okay.
move, make yourself small, make room.
Okay,
Small up
okay.
yourself.
Oh, I hear
Yeah.
it now.
Uh-huh.
Now I
Yeah.
hear it. Where it's like, okay, I hear it now. Make yourself smaller,
Yeah.
essentially, so there's space for
small
meeting
up
goodbye or
yourself.
sit down or something. Oh, okay. You got to say it quick though. That's you small up yourself.
Small up yourself,
It's
man.
like, small up.
That sounds more British.
Oh yeah, that's true. I'm not good at accents, especially in these high pressure situations.
That's true. A lot of pressure here.
Yeah. Go
of
ahead,
pressure.
please.
Oh yeah, you only had one.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, you're good. My next one is
I could go to untranslatable.co.
You could. A little plug for our friend Amarantz
Mm-hmm.
that has a lot of great untranslatables. Anyways, my last one for you is Haitian Creole. Notice how I didn't say it Southern this episode this time. Haitian Creole.
But that's how they say it.
Is that how they say it?
That's how my family would say
Okay,
it.
fair
No, I
enough.
don't know.
Okay. Wap
Oh, I
con
know what that
George.
means.
Different thing, but it is WAP.
What's the phrase again?
Wap con George. You'll know George.
Wait, that's the whole phrase?
Yeah, you'll know George.
Oh, you say WAP con George though.
Yeah.
You'll know George. That's the whole phrase. So something with
you
George.
will know George.
Isn't it? Okay.
I think it's like you will meet George. You'll know George.
Okay. Oh, you translated. That's what you did.
Yeah,
At first
yeah.
I thought that was all you like.
No, I
you'll
translated
know-
it.
I thought that was part of the.
No. No, I translated
I was
it.
like, that's all one phrase.
No, the phrase is Wap con George.
Okay. WAP con George. Wouldn't it be Jorge?
Here it says J-O-J. How would
Oh,
you say
okay.
that?
George. I think that was
you go.
George.
Okay.
I like that name. That would be a good name.
That's a
George.
cool one. J-O-J.
Okay. It's not George. It's George.
George.
All right. Sorry. I need the literal again.
You'll know George.
You will know George.
You will know George.
Okay, you can understand how that kind of sounds like Spanish too. You'll know George. you will know. It's like, oh, is it like the same thing? I'll show you. I'll punch you.
Yeah,
like you'll see Jesus essentially.
I mean, yeah, it's basically like,
But George,
yeah, be careful, or you're gonna.
I'll show you George.
Yeah, more or less. Yeah, you're gonna get the. Yeah, the backhand. You know.
Is that how you threaten?
That's right. Just.
Oh, that's the classic like parent threat is like the backhand.
I think even more though was the 3, 2, 1 countdown.
Oh yeah, that's popular in some households.
But hey, speaking of which, that is actually a good little segue into our 3 Ps topic today, because that is a different. How to discipline children is very different, I think, in different cultures.
That's true.
I feel like in the Western world now, it's become very frowned upon to like spank your child.
Yeah,
right?
Since like maybe like since the 2000s, maybe.
Right.
It's now sort of like like very frowned upon.
Right. Exactly. And I
but
mean,
there's still those people that are like, my parents beat me. Look at me. I turned out great.
Right.
And it's like, I think you need to look a little deeper into the mirror, sir.
That's fair. But at the same time, though, I mean, it's just interesting how perspectives change over time.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I have some friends that are from South American countries where they might get a beating. It's a joke, but they might get that chancla, from grandma or mom.
Yeah, but
or even auntie.
Yeah, the reason why everyone can laugh at that is because they can all relate with it.
Right.
When I first heard, I had when you said 3 Ps to me, I had a feeling this would be some school shit because I
hope you title this episode "The 3 Ps Some School Shit." You probably can't title it that, but that
I
would
can
be
put
funny.
a star on the.
There.
That's great.
Oh God, that's too funny.
All right, some school shit. I got to remember that. Okay. I knew this was some school shit because when you were, learning about these 3 Ps, I was across the hall in my marketing class learning about the 3 Ps of marketing. Are you familiar with those?
I'm not. What are they?
Those are product, place. Oh, 4 Ps. Product, price, place, promotion.
Okay,
that's the
that
first thing
makes
that came to my mind, and actually kind of similar to the 3 Ps of culture. And so when I heard that, I was like, this must be. That seems like a very academic thing to do. Also, is to like give it like you got to figure out the 3 words that start with the same letter in order to make it like a thing to teach.
Of course,
like a teachable bite.
I mean, as the Germans say, it's the Eselsbrücke, the donkey bridge.
What does that mean?
It means it's a way to help you remember or learn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Eselsbrücke.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure I have.
bridge.
Actually, 100%.
You probably
have
have.
heard it
Yeah,
from you probably.
Maybe. Well, it was one of those times when you weren't quizzing me on how to say this in German, and then I pulled one out of my back pocket for you. But so, it is very academic though for sure. But I do think it makes talking about abstract things a little bit more accessible.
Sure, yeah, because it makes because you can. It does make it give it a very easy way to break down on like a fundamental level, like what culture is in different places. It just makes it easier to talk it out. Like for example, let's do the 3 Ps of Michigan. Could we do that? Is that possible?
Of course, very
All
easily.
Right. So if we're talking about culture in Michigan, one of the Ps is products.
Yep.
Like I
for
think
sure.
Fago.
Yep. Better made chips.
Better
I'm pretty
made,
sure
yeah.
are made in Michigan.
I would say these are all sort of like a Coney dog.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I would say
making
these
me
are
hungry,
sort of
Jared. Stop
staples of Detroit in our culture. We've got to be missing a lot of stuff.
Cherries, like Traverse City cherries.
Apples.
Michigan wine. I think and beer. I mean, I think we have good quality stuff here in Michigan. To be honest.
Product. Oh, cars, bro.
Oh yeah.
We're just thinking about food and drink.
Yeah. Well, it's almost lunchtime. I'm starting to get hungry.
I'd say the big 3, Ford, GM, and Chrysler are a big part of Michigan's culture.
Yeah.
Everyone
culture,
knows
economy. Everything
that has some sort of connection to them.
Right. Also for Michigan, when I think of products, I think of music and Motown. Music is a big one. Like him or not, you got Kid Rock. I do like Eminem.
I don't
you
have a
know?
problem with Eminem.
You know,
He's definitely less like contentious than
that's
Kid
true.
Rock.
That's true. You know, Ted Nugent, if you're really into that kind of thing, but I prefer to not.
Oh man, I never thought I'd miss Kid Rock so much.
No kidding, right? I mean, he's like the older, crazier, kookier,
That's
crazy
true.
uncle of Kid
Give
Rock.
Kid Rock
really.
another 20 years and it's gonna be the same thing.
Basically, yeah, sounds like it. Let's see here. What other stuff? Yeah, cars, obviously. Music. I'm trying. Oh, you know what? Michigan U-turns, my man.
Is that you think that's a big part of our culture though?
I mean, well, it's a thing.
I'd say even more if we're talking traffic. Even more than that, are roads.
Potholes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially in this area.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd say that's almost a cultural thing. Like,
right.
Like
it
you can
is.
bring that up with anyone.
All
and
the
it's sort of
jokes.
like an inside joke that we like to joke about.
Like the summer flowers, a traffic cone.
Although now, Sydney and I, my partner, we argue about who's got the worst roads, and I think we've come to the agreement that Michigan has the worst, or at least this area we live in has the worst roads consistently.
Yeah.
So you get a lot more of that.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And there are potholes and stuff.
I feel like everyone who lives in Michigan has hit a pothole and their soul has just briefly left their body.
Oh, of course. But the thing about Philadelphia is it doesn't have that consistently bad, but especially in the city, it's pretty regular that you're going to cross at least a few potholes that'll end your car's life. Like emphasis on the whole part of pothole. So
Right.
they have like
I've
a
seen
lot
some
more
pictures,
just like
yeah.
gigantic, like how is this even allowed legally to be in the street kind of things,
Right.
and not just that consistent sort of terrible road.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a different sort of bad road, but I'd say either way, bad roads is a big part of our culture.
Sure.
We talk about
All
it
right.
a lot.
So we got the first P done, I would say, product.
Yeah,
I mean,
we
we could
covered
go on
that.
and on.
Sure.
Practices, Michigan practices. This is a big one.
Now that's maybe where the U-turn could come in, because I think maybe how traffic flows it kind of says a bit about a culture.
Yeah, well, I would say that's more the driving itself would be the practice.
But look at New York City, or look at Beijing, and if you or New Delhi or something,
Right.
you see traffic there,
Right.
and it sort of goes along with the hustle and bustle of the city, the way that it's like people are just trying to get where they're going, and they don't really care what is happening,
right. Yeah.
I have another one for
Yeah,
you. If you
okay.
hit this one right here, you see this button, you can it'll pop back to and continue
cool.
flowing
Thank you.
along. There's another one for you. So I would say I do think of traffic as like a what's the P we're on? I forgot. Oh, practice. As like that says a lot about a city.
I would say though another practice would be I think Americans. I hate to say this, but like when I hop in the car of like a German friend or a Czech friend, I think Americans, our cars are so dirty. Like mine isn't even perfect. I have some crap in my car that I should probably throw away.
I don't wash my car ever.
Right.
So my car visually never looks good.
Right. and yeah, I have receipts and other crap in my car that's just laying around.
Yeah. Well, there's a higher standard, much like how we don't have inspections here at all. Some places in the U.S. I mean, in Michigan specifically, we don't have inspections. Some places in the U.S. we have various levels. But in places like that you just mentioned, like Germany, I think it kind of goes along with they already have like super high standards of like how your car has to be operating.
Right.
So I think that it just adds to another level of care about the product when you have that level of you have to even be able to have it on the street, kind of.
Yeah, for sure. So that's another practice. I think a very Michigan or Midwestern practice is kind of the Midwestern goodbye, especially when people were seeing friends a lot more, where, you're like, all right, like, well, first of all, you got to slap your knees and, all right, I think we got to get going. But the talking,
late.
right,
Yeah,
talking and talking
saying,
until you, like, oh, I hated that when I was a kid when you were with your parents.
Well, I'm my family's Southern too, so there's a lot of that in there too, where they like go around to each individual person,
Say goodbye.
and
yeah.
my move is always the sneak out,
Right.
the Irish goodbye.
Irish goodbye. There's so many different ones of that kind of same idiom in so many different languages.
Another popular Michigan one that comes to mind for me would be euchre, as far as a practice. Just it's a very it's a very common go-to card game around
Right.
here, and I'd say if you were to be like name a game that every or cornhole for that matter that every sort of Michigander knows how to play, I would say that euchre would be one that, even if it's not true, would be probably one that people would assume.
Yeah. I think another practice in Michigan too is I feel like a lot of people who live here, especially ones that have been here their whole life, you see a lot of people with pride for Michigan. They have like a Michigan, bumper sticker, or they wear a shirt. Or
one of the Michigan ones where it's holding a gun. Have you seen that? Of course you've seen that one. You live.
Really?
Oh, you haven't? By the way, I've been seeing a lot more Trump stickers around
here.
recently. Not this neighborhood specifically, but on my way here, some of those farms.
Did you see the one I have on my car?
Yeah, I did. It's gigantic. I couldn't miss it. I saw you driving your Harley down the freeway.
That's right. That was me. And
you're like, shoot, Jared's on his way. I need to beat him.
That's right.
So what were we pride for Michigan. Oh yeah, so it's like the hand is like there's a gun sort of in it, and it's
in the mitten. Okay.
Yeah. So there's a lot of pride for Michigan for sure. Practices is a little harder, especially when you're talking about a state. I would say that there is a lot of enjoyment around. How would I sum up sort of our enjoyment of nature here? Do we have an enjoyment of nature?
Oh, yeah.
4 seasons. There's definitely something with 4 seasons. I feel like
fall gets a really special place in a lot of people's hearts.
I feel like we're a very 4 season, or like we care a lot about those 4 seasons.
Right. It's nice to have
something. Also, I think is that we also. Oh, is this? Oh, no, I feel like now I'm wondering if I'm getting into perspectives a little bit.
Well, keep talking. You might be. But
I'm
that's
thinking
okay.
of like we all sort of know someone for the most part. At least when I was a kid, that was like lived on water. Like lakes was a big part of our leisure activities.
Yeah, I think that blends, and this is where it gets a little bit tricky, is that even culture itself is very abstract. So, we use these 3 Ps to break it down and talk about it, right?
Products is easy because that's like a tangible,
it's tangible
physical thing.
For the most part. Yeah, it's usually tangible. Whereas, practices and perspectives, you're once again, as I said, you're pulling back the blanket. You're digging deeper.
It's that's like, this is what I do, but why do you do it that way? And those lines
exactly. And I think a lot of people in Michigan, we do really like the water. I grew up, my grandma had a place on a lake. Pontoon boats are awesome. Chilling on a pontoon boat, enjoying yourself. I think it's a big thing. And as you said, most people know somebody who knows somebody who has a boat or access to water.
A big part of any sort of, I'd say probably almost every culture in the world is sport. The sport that like a lot of southern places are known specifically for football. That's like a big part of their culture.
Right.
I'd say here it's mostly probably football too is a pretty big part of our culture. Even like, and it's not even just like rooting for the Lions or something like that, but I'd say it's more, the culture comes more from like college and high school levels. And like you can see how serious football is, not by maybe the love for the professional team or even the college team, but like how serious those people like if you go to like Texas or something like that or Alabama, they take high school games like serious. Like it's an event.
And
it's a
big event.
Yeah, and it kind of is here too. Not as big as like in a lot of southern places, I would say, but I'd say we make it an event. I mean, I don't really, but we as a whole here in Michigan.
Yeah, I would say so. I think another interesting perspective that we have in Michigan, and so this is kind of the why, right? Why do we do things? I think a lot of Michiganders, for the most part, at least around where I live, are very friendly. At least before all this pandemic happened, it wasn't uncommon for people to, have small talk. Make small talk when you're like in the line in the grocery store and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, I can imagine out here. You're probably, or like your parents are probably running into people at the grocery store.
Well, I mean, I even still see people I know quite often.
Like from high school?
Well, high school and just people you know who you know from just other stuff. If you've been around a place, I've been in and around Dexter now for over 25 years.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah,
so,
I mean, people.
You get to know people, and a lot of people here tend to stay.
I've never really had a situation like that where I've had such a connection to my neighborhood.
Right.
Just because I've moved around so much.
Which isn't necessarily a bad thing.
I mean, it doesn't bother me, but I never had that like like even when I came back to American high school for the last 2 years, like I could definitely kind of feel like an outsider just because I was like, these people know each other from like middle school and elementary school.
Yeah, it probably feels weird to be put in that situation, I would imagine.
I mean, you kind of get used to it. It didn't seem as bad, actually, mostly because the last new school I went to was moving to Germany. Right. So it's like, going back to a normal American school, I'm pretty used to that. That's just normal. I could do this.
Right. I think the other thing too is with perspectives in like a place, especially like a small town like this, is that I think a lot of people stay here and don't leave. And I think it's common in a lot of small towns in a lot of different countries. And some of it could be financially. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's cheaper to live here than in Ann Arbor, for example. And Ann Arbor is not that far. It's kind of a big city where we are in Michigan. That's where U of M is, and there's a lot of cool stuff in Ann Arbor. And so it's interesting too, though, also how, to me, it seems like, at least while I was in China, it seems like a lot of people tended to live more and migrate more towards the cities because that's where more work opportunities were. It's a different quality of life.
But they also have a different perspective to work than we do.
Sure.
Because it's also in China, at least I'm basing this off of one documentary I saw, American Factory, but it seems like it's way more common for them to go where the work is, but then I think they have it. It seems like they have a strong connection to their home in the sense that they're like, well, I'm going to go wherever work is, but I'm going to leave my family here, and me, the single breadwinner, is going to go 3 hours away to a different city and stay there during the week because that's where the money making is. But I feel like that's not uncommon.
No, I mean, I knew. Well,
that's also part of the New Year thing. That's when everyone goes home, quote unquote.
Exactly. So I think it's this idea of home is also different in different cultures too, right? Like in America, I feel like for the most part, a lot of people, when we talked about it earlier, me being 28 and being back at my parents, right now it's a little odd just because I'm a grown man, and I'm back living with my parents.
Yeah. Go ahead. No, please.
But a lot of Asian cultures, it's not that uncommon to be. I met a guy in Beijing who he was in his mid-30s, lived with his wife and his parents, and they lived in one big apartment. And his parents took care of their children, while they were at work. And I mean, yeah, I'm sure they went to daycare or kindergarten or something, but a lot of the time the grandparents take care of the kids. Whereas here, I mean, yes, I'm not saying grandparents in the U.S. don't, see or take care of their grandkids, but it's a different culture.
Sure.
You know? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Shoot, what was I going to say? I was listening and
You're talking about family, right?
Yeah. I've gotten to the point now where I call, I kind of call Louisiana or Baton Rouge my home. I've never lived there in my life. I've been there a bunch, obviously, but just because I've moved around so much, it's in Michigan, especially now that I've left Michigan and I come back with even less of my friendship circle here. Since they've all moved to various places for the most part, I don't have that same sort of connection with this place being my home anymore. To the point where now, it seems weird sometimes when I say it, but I just call Louisiana home because that's where all my family is. And whenever I do any sort of family gathering, whether it be Thanksgiving or Christmas, that's where I'm going. Right. And it's I don't know, that's kind of just home to me. I guess at this point is not even a location. I guess it's just
where family is.
What is that? Isn't that some sort of restaurant?
Probably
slogan,
probably
Olive Garden or something.
No, I was thinking maybe Cracker Barrel. I could see Cracker Barrel having a slogan like that.
When you're here, you're with family or
That's
something.
Right.
Yeah, something
or
like
even
that.
KFC. Honestly, although we know theirs is finger licking good, but still, I could hear the Colonel saying, "When you're here, you're with family." Or something like
Colonel that. Is the Colonel been cartoonized in any of the ads? I haven't seen that.
Probably.
I mean, probably. I just haven't seen it. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Let's do one more location. You think of one. What would be a fun place
have we covered?
repeat?
Have we covered? I want to talk a little bit more about perspectives first, just because I don't know if we've.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I don't know if we've unearthed really. I think we've covered products. I mean, products is pretty clear.
Yeah.
Practices, I think, is also pretty clear, right? About to sneeze. Oh, excuse me. All right. And so the practices are more how we do things.
Very
right?
polite.
Yeah, manners. Yeah, manners and politeness, right?
You know where I think that politeness comes from a lot of time is I think it has a lot to do with the Four Seasons, and I think it has something to do with sort of that potential, that winter potential to die at any moment kind of thing. And I think there is sort of this natural we have to put on some sort of face of of friendliness, because it's either that or someone's car is broken down on the side of the road and you just let them die, kind of.
Right.
And obviously that's a little drastic, but it's kind of true.
It's true. No,
and
it
I think
definitely is true.
some of some of that cold weather, you can die at any moment feeling kind of adds to like sort of this fake politeness that we have. Where
Right.
it's like, yeah, you don't want to be an asshole because you might slide off the road and be hoping that this person, I don't know, with the Trump sticker would help you or something like that. You know.
Right.
So maybe it's just like for your own personal survival, let's just all be polite here, which is a natural, I think, human thing in general. Who knows?
Right, but politeness is different in different cultures.
Right.
You know?
It's perceived differently. The idea
exactly.
Exactly. Ours seems very kind of fake to
Right.
me.
And gestures is another practice. You know,
Yeah.
what gestures are appropriate, what are
it's funny.
inappropriate.
When I hear this, it seems like Midwestern and Southern cultures are very similar. I'm getting a lot of similarities.
Well, I
here.
think
politeness.
Well, I think because of industry, I think there was a lot of Southerners who came north.
That's
If I
true.
remember correctly. Yeah.
That's true.
I mean, they call Ypsilanti Ipsy-Tucky.
I mean, in general,
Mm-hmm.
for black people, like places like Chicago and a lot of those big northern cities that have large populations of
Detroit.
black people, a lot of them were just like fleeing the South or trying to
Right.
get better opportunities. So
Right.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
They bring that culture with them.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think practices, as we said, manners, gestures. That's the how, and the perspectives is the why. Why do we do things? And you
right.
just covered the why.
Well, I covered one of them, sure, but there's got to be
Right.
more.
I mean, well, that's the thing this is where really you have to really, for lack of a better term, put on your thinking cap.
Yeah.
Because like perspectives, like really understanding why we do stuff, you have to kind of be introspective, not only about yourself but the culture around you, and
Why do we eat the foods that we do here in Michigan?
I think it's comfort. I think a lot of it's comfort. I think it's like it's fast, it's easy, it's comfort. A lot of like traditional Michigan foods, right? Like Michigan style pizza.
Yeah, dude.
Like I'm getting
That's
really
a good
hungry.
point.
Coney dogs. Like I feel like there's so many dishes and food here that we eat. Pasties,
We're
which are
not-
like that meat pie thing, basically.
Or even punchkis.
You're right. Right.
We're not known for healthy foods here in the Midwest in general. Yeah, that's true.
Right.
I think
a lot of
also
hearty
some of
stuff.
that is sort of that. Once again, it goes back to that cold weather thing. I think it is
And
sort of
farming.
this- yeah,
And farming
sure,
too.
Sure.
A lot of the heavier. I mean, even
Yeah.
like I was talking about that with some friends of mine in the Czech Republic. That's why a lot of traditional Czech dishes are so heavy, and they have those dumplings that like I could only eat like a couple of them, But Czechs can eat, like, I saw one of my students who was a skinny kid put away like 14 of them. And I was just like, dude, how do you do this? But anyways, the funny thing is that they said the same thing. It was because of farming. Back then they really needed all those calories because they were working
Right.
their butts off out in the fields all day long.
Sure. Yeah, like at one point, the way that they ate actually made sense.
I wonder if one of the reasons in Michigan we love our cars so much is because it is kind of seen as kind of like I think cars in general are seen as a very American thing, but I also wonder if the why is because I think it shows innovation, it shows willingness to try new things. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I understand. It's like it's our contribution to like the world. Like
Right.
Fago and Werner's and Better Made is
That's more
not our
just Michigan,
contribution to
yeah.
the world.
Right.
But like and it's like these companies that are based in Michigan are crucial to the automotive industry. So I think it's very cool. And as I said before, we all know someone that has some sort of connection to the automotive industry.
Yep.
And so in a weird way, not even a weird way, it makes perfect sense to me that we all sort of feel that pride because it's like we kind of all, in a weird way, have like something to do with it,
Right.
And so it makes sense to me. And I think here in Michigan, there really is sort of like almost like a level of status kind of thing. And I definitely feel like we talk about cars more here than they did, at least when I was in Philadelphia.
Right. Probably. It would make sense.
It was just more people that don't even really care about, like, wouldn't even call themselves car enthusiasts will be like,
Right.
oh, nice Jeep or whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think it's just more ingrained in everyone here.
Yeah. I would agree 100%.
Or even you, where it's like for really no reason. You know, you mentioned to me a couple weeks ago how you were thinking about looking into like new cars and prices and stuff. And you know, you're not against it. It doesn't seem like it, but there does seem like some sort of weird push in you where you still need to buy an American car.
Yeah, I kind of feel that way. 100%.
Yeah, I noticed that, and I'm like, and in my head, I'm always like, well, why don't you just find the best one?
Right.
But like even like our buddy Chris, he's doing the same thing, looking for cars, and he has the same thing where he's like, yeah, I don't want anything non-American. And I was like, you know, most Toyotas and Hondas are made in the U.S. today anyway. He's like, yeah,
right.
But it's like it doesn't even, but it's still this perception that we have.
Yeah. And I think it's tied to the Michigan identity for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to do something now, though, Jared, because I think we have uncovered these, I think, to the point where we really can without getting into like scholarly articles or something, you know. I mean, I definitely don't have those resources up. But I think it would be fun to do like a speed round where we'll start with products,
we
which
can't
is
go
the
this
easiest.
deep.
And I'm going to name a place or a country or city or whatever, and I want you to tell me what products come to mind.
Okay.
What things, and then we can talk about the place a little bit and see if we can scratch the surface a little bit more, right? So we'll see. So, all right. So let's start with products. Tell me what comes to mind when you think of Canada.
Maple syrup.
Okay, that's a big one. Anything else?
Products. I think of that's hard.
I always feel weird saying this because
Poutine.
oh, that's a good one. Yeah, poutine, which is like fries with cheese curds and gravy, which I really like. I'm getting so hungry, so hungry after this episode. Anyways, poutine. I think of as well. I feel weird because this is really a person, and I feel weird saying a person under a product, but they're a musician. But Shania Twain, she's Canadian.
Oh yeah, Justin Bieber's Canadian.
Oh,
so.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm product is difficult. Right. You know, that's a tough one.
What about practices? You know, you've been to Canada. We're very close to Canada, being from Michigan. What kind of practices do you think they have in Canada?
Politeness, obviously, is like popular
big
one
stereotype,
that we joke about here. It's hilarious that we joke about politeness too. It's like, you guys are so nice. What losers!
Right? We're just all assholes here in America, Jared. That's why we're just all assholes.
I would say another. Now, what about like universal health care? I feel like that's sort of like is that a perspective, more of a perspective on like how we should treat people?
I think it once again. I think it mixes in a little bit of both, right? Yeah,
because that's at least for me when I think of Canada, that's something that comes to mind,
right? Yeah. I also think of
hockey as a product, probably.
I also think of beautiful nature. Canada, in terms of nature, is gorgeous.
Say that's a product.
I mean, I guess technically, yeah.
Because it's not a practice,
right? I think the practice would be how people interact with the nature. You know, do they take care of it?
Yes.
You know, do they go hiking? Yeah, exactly. Okay, good. Good. That was a good start. All right. Russia.
Products, I think vodka. I think now this is weird, but I think shitty cars. So I think like
beat up modified cars, or
sort of like those I think of like those 80s, 70s Soviet era
like a
kind of cars, or like a Yugo, even though it's not even Russian. I think that's Serbian or something like that. But like I think of those churches.
Oh yeah, the Orthodox churches. They're beautiful.
I think of what are they? Are they big seafood people over there? What's the popular food in Russia?
Well, see, that's the problem. You know, Russia is so huge; it depends where you live.
That's true. I mean,
a big delicacy over there is caviar.
Oh really?
Oh yeah, Russians love caviar.
I did not know that.
If you go to, all the Russian restaurants that I was in Beijing, most of them had caviar and some seafood dishes. When I think of Russia, I think of they like cold salads. And I don't mean like a vegetable salad. I mean there's like eggs and fish and other stuff in it.
Yeah.
Beets.
I'm not a fan.
Yeah. So
also in a cold climate, it seems like a weird combination.
Yeah, I would want something hot, piping hot. But
yeah, not a cold, wet salad.
When I think of Russians, though, actually,
I don't know a lot of products though. I feel like I need more than vodka and shitty cars.
When I think of Russia, I think of resources like oil and gas.
Okay.
You know, like that's a really big one. When I think of Russia, I also think of Like I think Russian people actually, it's funny in the U.S. they're portrayed as these very cold, evil villain. Dmitry is coming to kill you. It's very dark.
But the funny thing is, mob or something.
Right. But the funny thing is, the Russian people that I've met have been some of the most lively, funny. Would have a good time. And I'm not saying all Russian people are like that. And these were Russians I met in China and in the Czech Republic. So I think also that being said, it takes, I think, a different person to also go to a different country.
I had a few Russian friends when I lived in Germany. I mean, we were kids, but they were all perfectly fine to me.
Exactly. So I think a lot
seem
of
like
that,
they were going to kill me.
Right. And they probably didn't, and they probably weren't like cold and standoffish like they're portrayed.
They probably weren't going to kill you.
Maybe not. You never know. But yeah, so I think of Russian people that I've met have been really lively, but also maybe not the men so much, but it seems like through Russian literature, like they're very kind of sensitive, but not sensitive in like a whiny way, but like sensitive, like
but
in
they are
touch
known
with
for like great art.
Right.
Yeah, like
great music, great art.
Music.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's true. Isn't Tchaikovsky? He's Russian.
Yeah, Tchaikovsky. All sorts of Shostakovich is another big one.
Yeah, so they are known for art.
Exactly. Okay, cool. What about China?
Products. I mean, I would say food. They have such a varied
Chinese food, yeah.
But they are known for having one of like the widest cuisine. So I just think the variety in cuisine is one.
I miss Chinese food so much.
Products to me, I definitely think knockoff.
Yeah, sure.
They are the home of the most impressive knockoffs you'll ever find.
And I mean, and speaking of which, now that I've gotten my stuff back from China, I have a North Face jacket that's a knockoff. Honestly, I mean, I haven't seen the American version or the real version, but I guarantee you they're probably almost spot on.
Yeah, and really what you're trying to do is essentially fool them with the logo, because the actual jacket quality is probably the exact same.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a good jacket. Exactly.
So my mom used to go to China a lot for work, and we used to make a list of knockoff stuff that we wanted her, and she could get like a whole suitcase full for like $100.
Oh yeah. You just have to know how to bargain and haggle over there.
Yeah, she didn't, but she had like a person that she would. Anyway,
oh, that's an interesting aspect of culture though. Is like buying and selling stuff. Like, do you haggle or, I think a lot of Americans, we prefer, and I would even argue a lot of Americans would rather pay more and not have to bother haggling.
Yeah, but like in some places, like for example, I've been to Morocco, and like it was a sport for them. They loved it.
They enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
they're almost surprised if they're like, how much? This much. Here you go, and they're like, what?
Right. They're like, really?
You're actually going to pay that?
Right. Well, we had our guest on a long, long time ago, Annabelle. She is a professional haggler, man. I can
imagine that. She's a good talker.
Yeah, we were at the silk market in China, which is like this, basically like this mall, but it's all knockoff stuff. And you should have seen her in the cashmere section talking this woman down.
I can imagine you being like, "No, come on, take it. That's a fine price." No, come on. Why are you trying to argue?
Right, and she was she was arguing like, yeah, she, the woman said like 55, and she's like 50. She's like 54, 50. Like, yeah, it was
just pay her, please.
Yeah, and it's like 20 cents. But for some people, yeah, it's more the sport of it. I myself, I'm not a good haggler.
I don't think. In those cultures, I don't think you're offending them by even doing that, because that's part of it.
Right. Although I will tell you, when I bought that jacket, that was pretty crazy. So Annabelle went in to find a jacket for herself, and I walked in and was looking around, and I didn't have a jacket. I figured I could buy a knockoff or a cheap one in China, so why bother packing one, right? So and it was about to be fall. It was like early September. It was getting cooler. No, it was October. It was actually my birthday. It was October, and I was like, and I think I had like a couple hoodies.
Not gonna cut it.
And a blazer, and I'm not gonna wear a blazer with a hoodie over top. That just looks goofy. So, anyways, I had seen this, fake North Face that was just all black, kind of plain, but I was like, that that looks nice. Would go with basically everything. And she saw me looking at it. Of course, she takes it'll fit you. I'm not gonna do the accent. She was like, it'll fit you really well. Try it on. So I try it on, and I'm like, oh yeah, this fits really well. And she goes, how much? And I go, how much can you do? And she started off with like, I think she said like 15,000 RMB, or not 15,000, 1,500 RMB, which would be like, don't know, around, well, no, 700 would be, so it was about $200, I think, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
700,
That's a lot of money.
I think, if I remember. Anyways, I talked her down to 300 RMB, which is still probably
I was always told, at least when I was in Morocco and I was a child, that you just immediately start by cutting it in half the price, at least cutting it in half.
Well, I mean, I was told cut it in a third.
Okay.
And I cut weight because honestly, I was looking at the jacket and I was like, I don't know if I really I was looking for something a little heavier, and so.
But somehow you ended up buying it.
Well, yeah. Well, but once again, though, I told you I'm a terrible haggler, and so what happened?
True.
What happened was,
you're too nice for it.
Right. Is what happened was I told her I said this is the most I'm going to pay. I think it was like. At the time, with the conversion rate, it was about $40. I thought, you know what, it's a knockoff. $40 for a jacket isn't that terrible.
Wait, you said it was 300 at the beginning.
300 RMB.
Oh, I got
RMB,
you. I got you.
Chinese currency. So, anyways,
so it started at 200, but you said it started at 200
USD.
US dollars.
Yeah, and I brought it down to 40.
Oh, okay.
But I guarantee you, it probably cost them 10, 15 bucks.
So you
to
threw
make
me
it.
off because you were jumping back and forth.
Sorry, from the different currencies.
Yeah,
right,
okay.
that's my bad. Anyways, so I had talked her down to a price where I was like, honestly, I'm okay paying that. But the funny thing was, I think she wanted me.
not happy with that.
Well, the funny thing was, is I told her 300 RMB, and the funny thing was, that she like kind of told me to be quiet because you're supposed to type it on this little calculator.
Oh yeah, because she doesn't want other people to know what.
Exactly. And then she said, you know, like, what's the lowest price? Like, what's the best price? And I was like, I told you. Like, I'm not going more than 300. What I should have done every time she asked, I should have gone lower. But once again, this was my first time really haggling. Right. Like she goes, what's the lowest? Well, I was going to give you 300.
Keep asking.
Yeah, 200.
It's going to be free.
Right, exactly. But here's the thing: is I told her 300, and she's like, no, too low. And I was like, okay. And I went to leave.
That's the move.
And she literally grabbed me by the chest and was
That's
like,
not the move.
Right. And she grabbed me and she's like, okay, lowest price. And I was like, I told you. She's like, okay, fine. She's like, you drive a hard bargain.
Yeah, and the thing is, she's probably not even that bothered by it.
Right.
But
it's business to them, you know.
But it's even like, I love like this almost charade that's like, oh man, you really wore me down. I can't believe I'm
right. But Annabelle would legit wear
them
them
in her
down.
head, she's like, sucker.
Right. But Annabelle, she would legit, like, it was funny to watch.
She had
her.
to be willing to do that.
Right. And I didn't care that much, you know.
And I think I wonder, are they a little bit more? Do they go a little longer with like Americans because they have the sort of they just assume we're all rich? A lot of them
probably. Yeah,
are just like, you have it. Come on,
yeah.
just pay it.
I mean, well, if you're visiting China, you're probably not a slouch. You know,
Sure.
You're probably
so
not financially.
we did products for China. Oh, technology in general, I think, is a big one.
Yep. And I think that also taps into perspectives and practices as well. Practices would be how they use technology, right?
Yes.
The product is the technology itself. The practice is how they use it, and the perspective would be why.
And I think you also see. Oh, sorry. You also see some of that perspective in how they also like the all kind of overnight skyscrapers that they build, and just like the how fast the innovation needs to happen. Right.
Well, I think over there too, there's a big thing about. I mean, China really, I can tell you, they want to be the best.
Yeah.
Like, they really do. Like it's to the point where. And it makes me a little sad. You know, I had a lot of students that really didn't have any like hobbies. Like I was like, what? You know, asking a Chinese college student,
what do you do for fun?
A lot of times you will get the same answer. I spend time with my friends. Occasionally, maybe watch some movies,
which is a little generic.
Right.
But okay.
Right. And either I like to cook or I like to eat. One of those two.
Okay.
You know, and you'll hear those kind of all the time, and it's like,
just because it's an easy one to go to,
right? But very rarely did I hear my students say, you know, occasionally, you know, a student of mine would be like, oh yeah, I like NBA and I like basketball, or I like music, but it's very rare.
But interesting. But isn't basketball huge in China?
I mean, it is, but I just don't think people do hobbies over there like we do here.
Right.
You know, I think here
they don't have like parties where everyone's coming over and getting drunk and drinking Bud Lights and watching the game. Does that happen?
I don't know. That's a good question.
No one invited you, clearly.
Yeah. Well, I also don't know
what are the big sports in China.
Well, there's a professional basketball league, professional soccer league.
Okay.
I mean, table tennis traditionally was the big one.
Okay.
But I think now it's not becoming as popular.
Now it's probably soccer and basketball are the
seems like those are the really, really huge ones.
Sense.
Yeah. But yeah, sports are an interesting kind of lens into the whole, you know, 3 Ps. You know, because the I think some cultures really give a lot of priority to sports. Like the U.S., we spend billions of dollars every year on sports.
Or like or if you even look at like the fan base. So if you look at like tennis or golf or like even Formula One, like the way they carry themselves in relation to like a soccer / football game or whatever American British whatever form of football we're talking about here, like just the different sort of fan or like rugby, like just when you see the different fan bases and how seriously they take their sport,
right?
And almost how like even cricket has this sort of like why does it seem like everything's got to be so fancy, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, but this all relates back to these.
But I think
things.
it's part of how they like view themselves in a way.
Which is so funny though too, because you have sports like cricket and golf that are in the UK, but then you also have soccer or football, as they'd say, where you get these crazy ass hooligans. And I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, any of our UK listeners out there, but I'm pretty sure you don't have cricket hooligans. Maybe you do. I don't know.
Probably have rugby ones, I imagine.
Oh, sure. I bet you rugby.
Yeah.
But
you
golf
don't imagine
and cricket,
like tennis hooligans.
Right. Definitely not tennis hooligans. I feel like the only time that would have been happening maybe was back in the day when Andre Agassi was really big, because he was kind of on the fringe, because back in the day he had the really long hair and the crazy clothes. He was kind of the bad boy. Yeah, Pete Sampras was the good boy, and Andre Agassi was the. I mean, that's kind of how they pitted. Them
like a
against each
wrestling
other.
match or something.
Yeah. But it's really fascinating, all that different stuff.
Speaking of sports and speaking of wrestling, actually, that made me think of sumo wrestling, which always gave me an interesting glimpse into like the Japanese culture, because like sumo wrestlers are very well respected in Japanese culture, but then there's always been like this sort of like it's always been. See, I'm even scared to say it. But it's always been like known that it's fixed.
Is it really? I didn't know that.
But no one ever really talks about it. And
I had no idea sumo was fixed.
That's what I've heard. At least I heard.
Like it's rigged.
Yeah, where like a lot of times they're like sort of determining or beforehand who's going to win.
So it's like WWE wrestling.
But it's no, because everyone acknowledges that wrestling is fake and they're kind of fine with it.
Right.
But I think there is sort of like a huge respect thing to like a part of the reason why it's rigged is because it's like, well, this is the best guy and you can't disrespect him. And so you're going to have to let him win. It's like, well, is it the best guy or we just have the most respect for this guy for whatever? I don't know. I don't know exactly what
interesting,
it is.
though.
But but I have heard that a lot of it, I'm not saying every single match is fixed or something
we
like
need
that.
to get a sumo expert on here. That would be crazy.
Yeah, because I don't know what I'm talking about, I guess. But I have definitely heard that there is a level of like a lot, like it's not just it is fixed essentially.
Right.
And I think it kind of makes sense when you see like how important respect is in these cultures, and then like respect as far as like levels of achievement, you know, like achievement is very important in these cultures. So it makes sense where it's like you can't just be some young gun and just come in and beat someone that is considered the greatest. Like I could see where the problem would arise with that socially.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Even though here I think it's sort of we're just always looking for like the best in like some sort of raw number. Like it's just a different idea of what the best is.
That's true. Yeah, I think respect is an interesting aspect of different cultures too, because I think
and experience is respected a lot more in a lot of other cultures too. Maybe.
Well, not only
it's respected here too.
Right,
I'm not saying it's not. But.
I think a big thing too about respect is I think a lot of Americans will be disrespected by someone to avoid conflict. At least I think here in the Midwest, like a lot of times. I mean, a lot of times people will, if you're disrespected in some way in our culture, I don't think you lose face like you do in some other cultures.
The idea of like shaming yourself,
right,
is not as big.
Like you just see the way people treat people,
especially
here.
Kids,
right? Well, and like I said, you know, if you look at just like some of these videos of like the whole Karen phenomena is like a big thing of this, right?
Oh, by the way, have you seen Jim Gaffigan? He was going to town on Twitter.
I saw on social media that he went viral about that, but I didn't read it.
And there was one woman that's like, you shouldn't talk about politics. You're going to lose a lot of fans. And he was like, hey, fuck you, Karen.
Oh, that is hilarious. That's funny.
It's just so funny coming from Jim Gaffigan. He's like the family-friendly comic.
Right. He doesn't swear when he does his stand-up. Yeah, no. He doesn't swear at all. And he is hilarious.
And her name was actually Karen, too. It was hilarious. It was great. It was too perfect.
That is too perfect. But see, that's the thing, though. I think a lot of Americans, though, they I don't know. We just don't
we don't respect our elders, really.
Right. Yeah. I think that's an issue. I think another issue too is I think a lot of Americans, like we talked about earlier, when we were chilling outside, was that I think a lot of Americans, if you put your foot down, you're kind of looked at as the asshole when you're just putting your foot down and establishing boundaries. I think in the U.S. we've become this culture, and I think some of it's good. We've become, in a lot of ways, a very open culture, right? I mean, people, if they're, the LGBTQ community, there's a lot of things but for example, that's not really a good example, but just I think as a culture we've become more tolerant, which is a good thing. But at the same time, if you disagree with anything like that, you're kind of seen as the asshole, whether or not you're right or wrong. I mean, I'm not going to tell people what their opinion should be. And if you don't approve of something or you don't agree with it, if you just, you know what I mean?
And there's no longer, especially here in the United States, it's something about, like, there's no longer like an authority on anything,
Right.
Like even though there could and should be, like, there's no one's, like, I feel like part of that lack of respect is that, like, all right, now we don't have, and now maybe, and listen, I'm not saying the Chinese system is the best system or anything, but there is something to, at least when it comes to having these sort of levels of respect, then I imagine we get less of people being like, Fauci's a fraud,
Right.
Where it's like,
no kidding,
this is a doctor that's been doing this his entire life,
very, very long time.
He's very accomplished, and it's like, now we can't even take a doctor serious. Like there's no sort of respect for what someone's accomplished, Well,
and I think an issue with that in American culture is as a culture, I think we are in a way kind of anti-intellectual. What I mean by that is we don't view education and knowledge necessarily as useful unless it can make us money, which to some extent is true. We need money. If you want a roof over your head, you want food in your belly, you need to make money, right? There's no other way around it. But
I mean, the education system definitely gets a bad rep, especially by like the
look how teachers are treated.
Conservatives in our
right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, look how, so I think...
Or even like colleges, like they're looked at to be like these quote-unquote liberal bastions where they're spreading lies about Jesus being evil or whatever.
I don't think...
they talk about that.
Right. I don't think they are spreading lies, but I think a lot of higher education institutions are very liberal thinking.
Sure, of course. And I do think there actually is a problem with... There is not a problem, but there is a challenge, at least from what I've heard, with like sort of going up against authority with new ideas in a lot of educational spaces.
Right.
And it is almost similar to that sort of Chinese culture where it's like, I've been doing this for much longer than you. Who are you to tell me that my theories are wrong and that you know better than I do? Like, it's sort of a hard thing to broach.
But I think the tricky thing with that, it's a double-edged sword. I think we need to have respect for people's experience and respect for our elders 100%. But at the same time, I think the beauty of our culture here in the U.S. is that we can question things because nobody's always 100% right. You know what I mean?
And there's so many like quote unquote elders that I just outright find to be utterly ridiculously stupid.
Sure. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it's like I can't in good faith quote unquote respect this person, just because they're older than me. Yeah, maybe they know more than me, but I can even with the limited amount that my young self does know, I can recognize stupidity,
Sure. And I think not even stupidity but ignorance.
Yes.
I think ignorance is a bigger word.
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I think it's interesting how different cultures approach a lot of things like this. They approach like the news, the media, the government, all that. And this all still goes back into our products, practices, and perspectives. Not to beat a dead horse here, but it's really true. And it's really fascinating to see how different education systems, government systems, all that kind of works under the umbrella of a culture and how it shapes it and changes it.
Yeah. Yeah. Even like the, I was thinking about like East versus West Berlin or East versus West Germany, how just like the decision to go either capitalist or communist had such a big effect on the cultures of those two sides.
Well, and you can still see it today. Like I was talking to my German buddy a while back, and he took me to Leipzig, and he told me that when you go to a lot of restaurants,
is that East?
Yeah.
Okay.
When you go to a lot of restaurants in Leipzig, the service is kind of slow because back during communism, they weren't making that much money, so they weren't motivated by tips. So you can't really motivate your wait staff really by money. At least if you've been so ingrained in your culture that you're just doing this job to do the job.
Right.
You know. So it's really
So
fascinating.
people are actually ingrained that like money is not the motivation.
Right. It's just this is my job.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's
I can't even fathom.
right. As an American, it's difficult. It's very difficult to try to think about that, but it's true. So yeah, it is interesting, and also, I feel like I hate to say this, but I think the U.S. we are a very, obviously capitalist but consumer country, but also I think very wasteful.
Yeah.
I think
Food.
Yeah, food. Everything.
Yeah. Like that's fireworks. Big
everything, big cars,
trucks, yeah.
Everything. You know,
justifying Super Duty pickup trucks for you and your
right.
one wife and one kid or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting how all of that works. And I think a lot of it comes back to status. And the way, and that's also though I think status would probably fit under practices and perspectives both, because I think with status the practice would be how you do it, right? You buy
How
a
you
nice
carry
car,
yourself, yeah.
You have a nice house, you wear designer clothes or whatever, right? Whatever is considered high status,
or how even like your culture perceives money, because not every culture is just obsessing.
But
over
I think
rich
how your
people.
culture perceives money would be a perception.
Oh yeah, okay, sure,
that would
of
be
course.
a perception, but or a perspective. Sorry, perspective.
Right, but still, yeah.
Too many P words today, Jared. I feel like Ben Shapiro right now. But
There are
anyways.
whores in this house.
God. Oh jeez. Oh, so
Wet
ridiculous.
S P word.
But yeah, so I think that the thing with showing status is also a lot of it I think has to do with the country's culture. What I mean by history, the country's history. Like for example, I was talking to one of my students about like Russia, like how do Russian people show like status? And he said, well, number one was cars.
Yeah.
He said you get a nice car, you get an SUV.
Aren't they they're kind of a flashy culture?
Right. Yeah. He said nice cars. A lot
I think
of people
jewelry.
Yep. Well, and for women, you better believe they're wearing really nice
I
clothing.
think men too. I imagine watches and rings and stuff.
Right. Yeah. And women, they have the hair extensions, the fake eyeliner, all the stuff costs money. And I think some of it is because they perceive it as making them look more beautiful or whatever. But I think a lot of it too is also kind of a status thing where I can afford to buy this nice watch, or I can afford to wear these fancy high heels.
Yeah. Kind of like how being overweight used to be like a sign of wealth
in like African countries.
I think in European countries too.
Oh, I guess nobility. You're right. Yeah, in nobility. You were talking way back. I thought you meant 50 years ago.
Oh no,
but
I mean like 1800s. And
right.
Shit, yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. All that stuff. What's interesting too is also how cultures perceive body image, or beauty in general.
Yeah, the aspects that make up beauty is very culturally based,
right.
Even within the country. And I think in the U.S., you see it a lot in the U.S. too. It's very cultural because of slavery. I mean, a lot of things go back to slavery, but I think that's a huge part of it. Like if you were to type in like professional hairstyle versus non-professional hairstyle,
you're right.
You get like white people versus black people with dreadlocks or something like that,
right. Which is BS,
for unprofessional.
Serious BS. Yeah.
And so in these countries that are we run by white people, they have, especially historically, they have like, especially in places like the U.S. and Europe, decided what beauty means, and that's the standard that now a lot of people are trying to achieve, because culturally we've kind of been taught that even if you are I'm not saying everyone, but for a lot of people, even if they are not white, they've been taught what the beauty standards is, and you're ugly if you don't look like this or whatever.
Right. Yeah. 100%.
Or unprofessional, rather, I should say. That's a big one, too, with the hair and stuff.
Yeah, and I think another thing, too, about, like, beauty standards or looks is that a lot of Americans, I think, like, when I look at Asian cultures and even European cultures, I think they are very much more health-focused, as in, like, people generally are in better shape, they're slimmer, They exercise more. You know, I'm not saying every American is overweight, but we do have a lot of overweight Americans here. And I think, and I mean, yes, some people do have serious health problems and they try really hard to lose weight. I'm not trying to say everyone who's overweight is unhealthy or is lazy. But at the same time, when I look at this through a different lens, right? Like when I would talk to some of my Chinese friends or even some of my German friends, and you know, I'll never forget, like the second time I was in Germany, I was talking to, I was actually dating a girl at the time. I was staying with her family. I was talking to the stepmom and her dad, and they had said that they had a friend that was overweight, and like a lot of people, you know, they're not Germans. They're not afraid to make a comment, you know, about it. And it's because it's just viewed as that's just how it is. And it's not necessarily like a dig at your personality or your character or anything, but it's like, we're concerned about you because you're overweight and we're not going to shy away from the situation. Whereas I have, you know, friends here in the States that, you know, they wouldn't either there's kind of weird, like two ways. They'll either say I'm fat and they say it like they're proud, or they'll say, or they won't say they're fat. Like they'll avoid saying they're fat, right?
Yeah, or they just like sort of ignore it almost.
And fat, when I say fat, like fat is almost like a bad word in the States almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like it has a stigma to it. Whereas at the same time though, I feel like there's obviously fat shaming in a lot of different cultures too. But I don't think it's viewed the same way as we view it in America. Like if you know, if I put on 50 pounds or 100 pounds, and if you said something to me, like I think a lot of Americans would say, "Oh, Jared crossed the line. You know, that's so rude. That's impolite, right?" But you could be saying it and being like, "Look, dude, are you eating like healthy? Are you okay?"
I think it's just it's such like a visual. It's I feel like a lot of times it's sort of a, I don't know, like a visual representation of almost like how you feel. Like it's physical representation of how you feel mentally, it kind of, or at least how much you like. I don't know. It's such a revealing thing, and I feel like it is it is a very vulnerable thing, and I it makes sense to me why people are so sensitive about it. But I think that that sense, like the sensitivity, is in a weird way not part of the problem, but I think it, like not being able to even like
talk about it
things is not helpful. It's almost kind of like that, like I don't see color thing. It's like that's not helping anyone.
That's not constructive at all. And I don't know, I think a lot of Americans we're not good at actually being blunt about how things really are. Like we get so caught up in our feelings, and I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad thing. Like I think it's good that, and I'm not saying all Americans, but I think a lot of Americans try to be cognizant of not wanting to hurt somebody else's feelings, wanting to be polite, especially here in the Midwest, right? But at the same time, like sometimes things are, you gotta say them, and I feel like in the States we're not always great at that.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was at I got my propane tank for my grill filled at Home Depot the other day. The dude had no mask at all, and we were outside.
Did you say something?
No, but I really wanted to.
You should have. But see, this is what I mean, though. We avoid conflict.
Yeah,
a lot of Americans do, whereas other countries,
bro, you're working, dude.
Right? Yeah, it's that's crazy. Though.
And we were outside, but still, like he didn't even have one. Like, I mean. And
not even
on
the
his
chin?
but even still, that would make me mad. But like, it's like you don't even have one on you, and you're, I don't know. It was weird.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of, here's another cultural thing.
But I think that's the thing about how we care about, like how we feel about our health, and when we talk about like fatness, I think we kind of see how Americans feel about health when we look at our response to this virus.
You're 100% right. Absolutely. Yeah,
it's pretty exposing how we feel about our health.
Yeah, well, it's clearly not that big of a priority.
Yeah,
unfortunately, you know, I think Americans, we want things fast, we want them easy. If they're cheaper, even better. You know,
we want people to tell us what to do, almost to a point where if you do, we're then gonna like do the opposite in some sort of form of defiance.
Right. It's like that. I saw a really funny meme of like it's like that penguin where it's like me wanting to sleep all day while I'm at work, and then it's like when I get home like 10 p.m. trying to go to sleep, and then the penguin's got his arms crossed. He's like, "Well, now I'm not doing it," you know, and that is kind of an American thing. You know, it really is. Like and I think it comes from our history. Like it is ingrained in a lot of Americans, just kind of the way we said "F you" to Great Britain.
Yeah, like don't tell us what to do. It's a whole bunch of don't tell us what to do.
But it has. You're right though. It has put us in a predicament where
we can't try to help.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just recommending based off of what we heard.
Right.
And it's like, no, you're just trying to, and it's so weird how it immediately turns to like some sort of infringement of freedoms, you know?
Yeah. Exactly. And also too, like how quickly people get defensive about stuff in the States, I feel like, you know?
Yeah. We're screwed.
Yeah. When a lot of times, but I think another issue too is we're not very good at taking constructive criticism sometimes, and also unsolicited advice. Like I was talking to a couple friends of mine,
and politicians are respected in any sort of fashion too.
Right. Well, I think worldwide you might be able to say that the only reason why some are respected, I think, is honestly out of fear. And just ultimate power.
Yeah, I mean, Kim Jong-un is respected only because if you don't outwardly respect him, they'll kill you. So sure, he's respected.
Right, but yeah. So where was I going with this though?
Response to the virus, respecting each other.
No, I completely lost it.
I'm sorry,
bummer. But yeah, it will come.
They
back
don't
to
respect
me.
no respect for your government. I thought we had it. You're so close.
I thought
it's like
so
starting
too.
an old car.
Right. No kidding. I think the thing in the U.S. though is, as I said, we aren't very good at taking constructive criticism and unsolicited advice.
Yes.
So what I mean is that I've had some friends that grew up in different cultures, and they're anyone around, if the kids were doing something wrong, they would discipline them. Whereas you better believe in America, everyone would have a come apart, right? That's my kid. You can't tell me how to raise my kid. And it's like,
don't talk to Caden like that,
right? And it's like, well, I'm here at the grocery store, and your kid just dropped a thing of milk.
An asshole.
Right? Exactly. And so, but what's weird though is I did see this a little bit in China with like young children were just running around rampant. But it seems like somehow once they start school, it's kind of like the parents let the kids be crazy, and then once they start school, it's
what are they doing in those schools?
I don't know. I was only in the middle schools, high schools, and universities.
By that part, at that point, they've already been indoctrinated.
Right. but that's the other thing though is how we discipline is another big aspect of culture. How we discipline. And also, like, I feel like in the U.S., we can be kind of wishy-washy about stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas I think other places, it's like, nope, you did this, and these are the consequences.
Yeah, we're not we're not good discipliners here.
Well, I think we have lots of loopholes. We have lots of ways where
there's always a way to get out of something, especially if you just have money.
Yep.
Like, there's always... Yep. Like, our president's one of the biggest con men in American history.
Oh, for sure.
Like, how is that possible?
And he will go down in the history books like that. I'm very curious to see what in the next 20 years is going to come out and what we'll know and what people are going to write about.
It'll be very interesting to see how people talk about him in hindsight, like post him or post Biden or whatever, even down the road, a couple presidents down the road.
Right. Yeah. It'll be really crazy. That's for sure.
Who knows?
Yeah, but I think we've covered our
we
practices.
Forgot to get a song of the pod again.
We did. Oh, well. we were too busy with the 3 Ps today, Jared. Our products, practices, and perspectives.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this was a good one. We definitely explored some cultural terrain, if I do say so myself. So let us know, though, some interesting products, practices, or perspectives from your home culture or a place you like to visit. We really could have talked a lot more about, different cultures and some products, practices, and perspectives, but I think we gave a good overview of kind of what they are and how they work in real life. So some of you might be able to gain a better understanding of your own culture or other cultures you visit.
What are some that stick with you or that stick out to you when you travel? Food for me. I would say a big one for me is the transportation setup, whether they're car people, motorcycle people, public transportation people. That's sort of a divide, like a cultural sort of. You can see different ways people operate in culture through that. I would say, like the cityscape, like how much of it's you can really get a vibe off of people. You get a different vibe off of people in like a big bustling city versus like a small town. Like these are just all the sort of things that I immediately sort of pick out when I'm trying to.
For me, a big product thing that we didn't really mention is architecture.
Yes.
Architecture is a big one. I mean, that's one of the things that really sucks me in whenever I go somewhere. I mean, I can still very vividly remember some of those beautiful Gothic buildings in Prague, for example.
Yeah.
And so stuff like that really sticks, I think,
all those
as well.
orange roofs.
Yep. Yeah, roofs. No, it's roofs.
Rufus.
Yeah. but yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, I think one of the cultural practices I really liked when we went to Bali was, as we've talked about before, like the namaste.
Yes.
Instead of shaking hands. And even, like, I will say, though, there is a different level of closeness with a handshake or a hug or something, because there is some contact
or the
there.
European kiss.
Right. But there's something also kind of cool about just, like, doing the namaste. It's kind of cool. So that's a practice I really liked from my travels.
It almost feels like you're rather than
you're sending good vibes,
sending peace. Yeah,
exactly.
When even a hug, there's another level of contact and affection there. It doesn't, for some reason, you don't get that I'm sending peace vibe.
Right, and hugs can be weird too, as well. Like depending on are you hugging one of your good guy friends if you're a dude? Are you hugging a female? Because there's just different. A
lot more meanings behind a hug.
Right. Like the hugs where, like, if you're hugging a girl and they stick their butt way out and they just kind of give you a half-ass hug.
Side one.
Right. Exactly. So yeah. But yeah, I think the namaste is an interesting practice. And I think in terms of perspectives, I'm trying to think of a perspective, like a why, that I think is, this is trickier. See, now we're getting more abstract.
Yeah. We talked about the weather. We talked about, like communist versus capitalist. I feel like these are a lot of the whys.
Right. Yeah. Government.
What you value, whether that's money, whether that's person, or like collectivism, or what is it?
Individualism.
Individualism.
Yeah. And
yes.
actually, with those, I would have to say that I have, I guess, my feet in both pies, per se, there, Jared, because I think there's some great things about individualistic societies. But I think we produce some amazing, not that other countries don't produce amazing art and music, but I think here in the U.S. especially, there's just some amazing, like culturally, just traditionally, we have great music and movies and stuff.
And I think innovations. I like innovations coming through competition. I like that idea.
Right. It's not a bad idea. Exactly.
Like you don't like it being accelerated by just trying to outdo other companies and stuff like that.
Right.
I kind of like that idea.
Right. But I do like, the thing I like about collectivist countries, especially as we've seen throughout this pandemic, is just being able to come together as a whole and accomplish something together.
Yeah. Realize that we're all
in this together.
All
at the
in
end
this
of the
together
day.
to accomplish a bigger goal. And that every sort of way that we communicate with each other is just sort of like this nicety to keep society going. And how is something like this pandemic any different?
Exactly. So I think we've covered it. I think we can put this one in the books, Jared. Yes. So let us know some of your favorite products, practices, and perspectives. As I said, in your home country or a country you like to visit. You can hit us up at untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram, Untranslatable Podcast. You can see some pictures of our travels. I'll try to have to think about what we could, maybe there's some cool stuff we could post for the 3 Ps. I'm sure both of us have some pictures from travels that might, show products for sure. I mean, architecture,
sure, yeah,
all sorts of stuff. But
we'll think about it.
Anyways, check us out on Instagram. That's the point of that rant. Untranslatable Podcast. And also, please, 5-star reviews on iTunes and Stitcher. Let us know how we can make this podcast better for you.
Yeah.
So, as we say here at the Untranslatable Podcast, dziękujemy, muchas gracias, shusha, and do svidania. Almost the same time again.
Oh, yeah.
Almost.
That was fun.
Close but no cigar, Jared. Close but no cigar.
Yeah, dude.